This is Joseph Polizotto. I am the Access Technology KPEG Interest Group Southern California co-chair, and welcome to our March webinar in which we're featuring Joshua Hori, the Accessible Technology Analyst at UC Davis. In this webinar, he's going to be introducing the app rating tool that he developed through a Trello board and reviewing the VoiceDream and VoiceReader apps. For those of you who are new to the AT-CIG, we are a group of alternate media specialists and assistive technology specialists in California and beyond. I am the Southern California co-chair, and I am located at Taft College in South San Joaquin Valley in California. And we also have two Northern California co-chairs, Thad Selmons at Sierra College and Sean Jordison at Columbia College. The AT-CIG meets regularly at the KPEG conference in California and the CSUN conference in San Diego. The next KPEG conference will take place from Friday, October 2nd to Tuesday, October 6th. And the proposal just went out, and it will be due April 15th. So please make a proposal if you're interested in attending KPEG. We got some feedback about some areas that folks in the field are interested in hearing sessions about. In particular, best practices when working with faculty regarding accommodations. Also, the AT-CIG presents scholarships to students who are in need of assistive technology. And we are organizing this webinar in the hopes of promoting the latest in assistive technology and alternate media solutions. We would like to develop stronger connections between professionals in our field so that we can learn about what we're doing on different campuses and learn from each other. Finally, we just created an AT-CIG list server. If you're interested, please contact Geyer Dietrich, who's the head at the High Tech Center Training Unit in Cupertino, California, and you can find her information there. A few tips for those of us who are online, logged in to CCC Confer and seeing the screen. We do have closed captioning available, and you can access the closed captioning tracks by going to the window menu at the top of your screen. It should be up on the left there, and then click on Show Closed Captioning. Then you should see the closed captioning box appear. Now at the end of our session, if you want to save this closed caption track, you can click on that right menu button on the down arrow and click Save, and you'll save a text file to your computer. Also, I've uploaded the KPEG membership form and the KPEG Call for Proposals form to our file transfer library, which you can download right now to your computers. So to get to the file transfer library, you go to the window menu, click on Show File Transfer Library, and then you'll see those files there, and just click on the Save to Your Computer button on the top, and you can save it to your computer. Also, for those of you who would like to participate in this webinar through discussion, we're looking forward to hearing your comments and feedback. Please plan on discussing your ideas via chat, and also we'll have a time at the end of our session when I'm going to open up the floor for folks to chime in as well. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Joshua Hori. He, again, is at UC Davis, and he's going to be sharing with us his Trello board and the VoiceDream and VoiceReader apps. So let me just turn this over to Josh.
Okay, here is my Trello board, which is something I started up approximately about a year ago, and it was a way for me to basically have a whole bunch of apps at my fingertips that I could possibly look through and provide as suggestions to people who were interested in assistive technology. Now, if you look here, I do have a template here that I usually keep for people who want to possibly add software. And if you click on it, basically everything's basically set up so that way you could just click on it and add things that you need to add. Oh, I can't get into that one. So if you look over here, like I have e-reader apps, I've got e-text distribution, so maybe ways of delivering e-text to students, organizational apps, note-taking apps, reminder apps. The list keeps on going on. And this is something that I'm trying to keep up to date with technology as I find them. And if you look, you notice that there's some colors here on some of these cards. So if I was to go over to maybe, let's say, box over here. Seems to be stuck. Hold on. And if I click in the box, we actually have labels. Those are the color codes. And this is actually what the applications will work on. So in this case, box works on, oops. In this case, Box works on Android, iOS, Mac, Windows. It's also web-based, so you can gain access to it as long as you have an internet connection. Over here for website, I've actually got the Box website as well as the Google Play and iOS locations of where you can download and install these. A description of what the app can actually do, all the different types of accounts, and what you can expect. And at the very bottom, I also have a link to a video on how it can be used. At the very, very bottom, you can see there's an area, if you are part of the Trello, you can actually go in and add comments. It also has the ability to vote. As of right now, I think that this is being viewed as a guest, so guests don't have the voting capabilities. Yes, you can follow the Trello link. It's public, so you can actually keep it and share it. And if you want further access to it, where you would actually add comments, you just contact me, and I'll add you over to my Trello board. And as we're waiting for the web tour to start back up, there's other capabilities on there. You can actually assign the card to yourself, so that way if new information comes in, you're notified of it. As you can see over here, if I double click on the box, it has Android, iOS, Mac, Windows, and it's web-based. Members, I can add members really quickly. The labels, I can change them over here. Checklist, I don't have any checklists on here because I don't see a need for it. Maybe what we could do is maybe add a checklist for how it works with different types of assistive technology such as screen readers and so forth, because there is an issue with Box.com and screen readers where you have to use the mobile website in order to be more accessible to screen readers. Attachments, so if you go to attachments, I can actually attach documents from my computer, from Google Drive, Dropbox, Box, OneDrive, or just attach a link, maybe it's a JSTOR document or so forth. We can move cards over really quickly, copy cards, subscribe to them so you're notified of any kind of new updates that are come up. Voting on it, we would like people to vote on these applications because as voting, we could possibly take into consideration that this is a really interesting app that people are wondering more about, and we need to do a webinar on it. So as more and more people start voting on this, we'll take that into consideration for future webinars. Of course, I'm not going to archive any of these, but you can see here the difference between free accounts, business accounts, and enterprise accounts. This gives you really, really quickly something to refer to, so that way you don't have to look it up on the internet. Of course, there is a whole bunch of other ones. Voice recognition, Dragon Naturally Speaking. If you go into there, all the different versions. I probably need to update this a little bit more. Information about the Dragon Medical Edition and Hidden Mode, which I'd love comments on if people are wanting to know more about. And basically, this is about it with the Trello board. It's really, really quick and easy to use. You can navigate the cards really quickly in between columns if you need to. Really quickly and easy to move, and I can, with this template, I can sit there and I can basically say copy my template, and I say that I want it to go to another board and where it's supposed to be going. So we'll just do this one, and maybe I can put it reminder apps. I can change the position first so that way I see it when I make it. So that way when I close over this, if I navigate over to my reminder apps, I have my template here. Now from here, I usually put in some kind of a title. I can put in dollar amounts if it's free or anything else like that. If I come down over here into developer site, I've actually got it set up so that way it shows automatically headers, so that way people with screen readers can navigate through the cards. As you can see, the website name would be what would be read out loud to screen readers, while the link is actually embedded within parentheses. You can add a really quick description as well as video links, so it's really quick and easy to add additional details for another piece of software that you're interested in. And everything else should be automatically set up. You would have to add labels just by clicking on them, and they'll add up onto the Trello board. And this one, I'll just archive this one since it's not really part of anything. So yeah, I invite people to come, use my Trello board, provide feedback. If you have more ideas or maybe software that you would like to include, please let me know. We'd definitely be willing to add them on here. And if you're looking to be a contributor, please reach out to me. I'd be more than willing to show you how to add apps and how to add details and so forth. And that's it about the Trello board. If anybody has any quick questions about it, or unless we want to wait until the end of the webinar to do that. No, it does not overlap with Ron's call for a database. I actually reached out to Ron to ask for clarification as to what he was asking for with the database. I think he's actually asking about program accessibility of apps that students would actually use and how to make items more accessible, maybe like MATLAB, R, and Stats. I do not have any kind of information on that one. Alexa's question about when we would add members to a specific card. I don't think you would add members to a specific card. I think members would add themselves to a specific card, maybe subscribe to it, so that way they can find out more details as things are added or updated. Because as apps get updated, sometimes it breaks accessibility, such as, well, VoiceDream was actually broken as of until, I think, Tuesday. There was a issue with invalidated PDF key that was integrated into the application. I think a little bit after CSUN, that the developer was not aware that it was the wrong code. So anytime you tried to download PDFs into VoiceDream, it would actually do absolutely nothing. He's actually fixed that after a really quick email to him. And if you haven't done so already, I advise that you update VoiceDream right now. Okay. So if you look over here, I just have my VoiceDream and my writer up. We'll go into VoiceDream first. Now within VoiceDream, I'll go back over to the home where you can actually sit there and see everything that's available to you. This is where you would go into, this is actually the first page that would be brought up. So if you look in the upper left-hand corner, there's actually a file manager which you can actually go through and add folders and maybe organize your readings a little bit more. We can also edit files over here, so that way I can take off books that I no longer want to read. And along the bottom of the taskbar over here, we have a plus symbol. The plus symbol is actually where you would go to add things. As you can see, I have Dropbox and Google Drive added, as well as Evernote and Bookshare. So there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can get materials on here. So if I go into Dropbox really quickly, I can maybe, let's just pull down something kind of a small. And as you can see, you're presented with a little download notification to let you know where the process is at. I haven't found this in very many applications, which I found very nice in this particular instance. Because if you have really, really big files, it can take quite a while in order to download some of these files to your mobile device. Hit OK, and I'll hit Done, and then you'll see that it appears right here up at the top. Now, if you notice, it gives you a really quick metadata right underneath the title, as well as a timeline of how long it'll take you to read the book, which in this case, it takes me almost 12 hours to read this beginning JavaScript book. Now, if your page doesn't show up, you can, right next to the plus sign, there's a little refresh button that if it doesn't show up right away, you can hit the refresh button to maybe bring it up. Another item is if it doesn't show up, I find that if I restart the application, sometimes it'll show up right then and there. So you can also, right next to the refresh button, you can actually organize your readings by recently added date and title, author, as well as size. And probably the most important one is your settings. So within your settings, this is where you would go to add Dropbox, your Google Drive, as well as Evernote and Bookshare, where you'll be putting in your account information for Bookshare. You can also manage your voices really quickly from here, where, as you can see, I've got Heather for American, I've got the UK, Australian, and another English voice already installed. And these voices were already installed onto my iPad. There's nothing new that I put on. Inside of advanced settings, you can sit there and set settings so that way if you advance to new articles, you can have sounds played, sounds when you're finished with an article, and automatically go to full screen when speaking. There's all these little different settings that you can actually set over here in the advanced settings area. And the translation, I haven't used this one too much because, well, I don't have too much translation credits. But it could be something that's very useful for those who maybe have English as a second language. Down below, you have a contact, Facebook page, Twitter, write a review, help and about. Contact us is probably a really good area to go to if there's something wrong with your application to contact the developer. I'm going to hit Done to get out of this page. And let's say I'm going to go into my beginning JavaScript book. Ooh. Now, as you can see, I'm actually brought over to the PDF view. And if you look at the top bar, you'll see that there's a home, which will take you back to the previous screen that we were just at. There's a little pencil, and this is where we can go in order to translate some of your books. We have an export feature right next to that where you can export your text or export highlights that you make from within your text or just share and print it. On the far right-hand side of the top bar, you have audio settings. So over here, you can actually change the audio settings, and let me just decrease this right now so that way it's a little bit more understandable to about 170. You can change your languages as well as your pronunciation dictionaries. And you can add words and so forth. It makes it really quick and easy to add words and, for pronunciation. I find that it does a pretty good job of announcing scientific names, and had actually some of my students go through a lot of text-to-speech programs while reading bio-sci books to see what kind of differences there were with pronunciations. You can also really quickly manage and change voices really quick within the audio areas and add voices if you so choose. Now right next to the audio settings is also the visual settings. So this is actually where you would go to change between a PDF and a text-only view, where students can actually choose which ones they want to actually read out. So if you actually look over here, you also notice that it shows show spoken word as well as show spoken line. Now what that does is it puts a box around the sentence that's being read, as well as another little box around the word that's actually being read. Now in order to do something like that, you just basically double click on an area and hit play. There we go. You can skip by sentences as well, just by hitting the little fast forward, or you can hit the rewind as well. Now you can also change how it's actually highlighted right over here underneath the highlighting style. It's on text or in margin. I haven't tried the in margin as of yet. I usually leave it on the on text. Within the text only view, you can actually do a little bit more on here. Where it does the highlighting still, you can actually change the cursor positions as well as the different types of highlighting styles and scrolls. Now the visible lines is something that might be really good for those who need to take away some of the visual aspects of the page. So you can actually go 5 lines, 3 lines, or 1 line in order when you're reading. So that way you're not distracted by the rest of the book. You can actually sit here and change fonts as well as text size and character spacing, line spacing, and side margins. And that's all within the visual settings for the layout. And if you notice right next to the visual settings, you'll see that there's a bookmark. And that's really good for just maybe you're just at a place that you would like to stop. You can really quickly hit the bookmark and you can navigate to it through on the bottom toolbar. You'll see the little 3 lines over here, and you can actually navigate through your bookmarks that you actually paste inside of here. Along the bottom row, there's additional controls for fast forward, rewind, and play. You can even search through the book for certain words. And then navigate to where you want to go. And you have a timeline down here at the very, very bottom of where you're at in the book as well. And that is about it for the VoiceDream. Oh, I'm sorry. So you can also do over here define. It gives you a dictionary of some of the words that you have inside of here. And this is where you can also make notes and bookmarks as well as maybe hear how words are pronounced. And within the note, when you go in there to paste something, I'm going to turn off my keyboard really quick. You'll notice that you can actually use the, when you pull up the keyboard, you can actually use a little microphone down here in order to add text into your textbook if you wanted to. It's not something I would recommend while in the lecture, but it could be something that you're doing as you're reviewing the book. And I'll save that one right there. And once again, when I go over into bookmarks, oh, I thought it would have been listed, but it's not. But it is listed over here in the highlights.
Jim? We have a question from Alice, who asks, does the dictionary read? And does this app work with VoiceOver?
Yes, it does. I haven't tried navigating over into the definition area when you're actually sitting there and trying to use VoiceOver, so I might have to get back to you on that one. But I do know that it does read books with VoiceOver. The developer actually made it so that way it's specifically for VoiceOver users in order to interact with books. And that is it for the Dream Reader, VoiceDream Reader.
We have another question from Alexa, who had asked earlier about whether or not this app is more for the front side of the house, and whether or not VoiceDream Reader is meant to work after a lot of back of the house work has been done in terms of OCR and fixing up, processing your document before it comes in to VoiceDream Reader. You got it?
Yes, it will not read PDFs, and it does not perform any OCR in the actual on the file that you're actually importing. So if you're importing an image PDF, it's not going to read anything. You won't be able to interact with the PDF, and if you go over to the text-only view, it will be empty. So that's an unfortunate thing. There's not very many apps that I know of that will actually perform OCR, and the ones that do perform OCR on mobile devices usually only do one page at a time, which can be a little tedious to work with. Yes, I see that someone asked, does the user need to be connected to the web to access files, or can they be downloaded and saved to the device for use offline? The user will have to be online in order to gain access to the files, or he can connect the iOS device up to his computer and use iTunes to pull the documents over. Yes, it will save it locally, but you can also save it in the cloud environment as well. Word of note, I've noticed that if I try and use the text-to-speech feature within the application, if I'm offline, it will not work. So for those users who only have Wi-Fi access and they're trying to use the text-to-speech while they're not in a Wi-Fi area, it will be available in there, but you won't be able to press the button. It just won't be interactive. Okay, so back over to VoiceWriter. The very first file icon that you see is the file manager, so that is where you would go in order to access the different types of apps that documents that you have created within this application. The plus sign over here is where you can create a document or import from external location. And just word of warning, if you're importing from external location, it will not import documents or PDFs or anything else like that. It will only import text files. Right next to that, we have a file action, so we can sit there and close the file that we're currently in, copy all the text, send text, open file in another application, or export the file to an external location, where you would actually sit there and choose a format that you would actually want it in. So plain text without markdown, plain text with markdown. The difference being is that within this app, there are little characters that you can use in order to ensure that it is accessible. If we're adding headers or putting in bullet points and so forth. The good thing about this is when you export it into rich text format in HTML, it will carry those characters over into proper heading syntax. Now if we move back over to the upper right-hand side corner, you'll notice that there's audio settings over here, where once again we can sit there and change the different types of settings for playback as well as how fast it's read. So by default, the first three are actually enabled. Speak word when typing, speak sentence when typing, as well as speak on tap in Word Finder. The last one, speak on tap and outline, is disabled, which I usually enable it because what it is there's actually an outline on the left-hand side. You see there's a little button, which will allow you to go through and, well, allows you to see the headers and bullet points and different types of things that you've written within the document, and you can sit there and actually navigate and move them around really quickly if you so choose. And we'll go back to this here in a second. So proofreading style, I haven't played too much with the proofreading style. I usually just leave this one alone, and I haven't found a really good use for it as of yet, unfortunately. As for the visual settings is where you can actually go to change the font and sizes of the text as well as the character spacing, line spacing, as well as side margins. Now, unfortunately, the lowest side margins will go is 20. I can't go any lower than that. Paragraph styles are actually sitting over here where you can actually change these if you so choose. Mark misspelled words, which it thinks a cappella is wrong. And underneath that is the ability to change between a light, a dark, so that way if maybe you're sitting in a dark environment and you don't want it so bright, or maybe you prefer a dark background, you can actually choose so from here. As well as custom. Now, the thing about the custom is I can change everything but the text. If I go and try and change the text, it will not allow me to do so, no matter what I try and do. But for those who might have dyslexia or other visual impairments, they might choose different colors that they can actually interact with their documents. I'll go back over to the light for right now. Right next to the visual settings or the audio settings is tools. So you can actually sit here, find text, check spelling. We have advanced settings for show sidebar buttons, which is the little arrow that you see here on the upper left-hand side of my screen. Now, if I was to turn that off, it makes them disappear. And the way to make them come back up is you use 3 fingers and swipe either left or right in order to bring them up. But I usually like to see those. So that's a preference that you might want to choose. You have a contact us if there's anything wrong with the application, as well as a help file. Now within this help file, you'll notice how it's actually written. So you have a pound symbol before the help and 2 pound symbols before writing. That's actually to signify between a heading 1 and a heading 2. Now as you navigate through here, you actually have a little bit more information as to how to italicize and bold your fonts and so forth, where you're using 1 asterisk for on either side of the word to italicize it, or 2 asterisks on either side of the word to make it bold. Now you can also use the outline feature really quickly to navigate around the document, and double clicking on it should have it read out loud, which I don't know if you guys can hear, but it is reading it out loud right now. Now, let's try and create a document right quick. So I'm going to hit the little plus sign over here, and I'm going to create a document. So as I'm writing, every time I write a word, it's going to read it out loud. So that way if I get something wrong, it actually announces, it pronounces it, but then it also tells somebody that it is actually misspelled and that you should go back and edit it. Now, another nice, neat little feature when you're actually sitting here and writing is if you swipe, or if you look in the right-hand side, there's a little define feature, where if you're needing help trying to find a word, like maybe you know you're trying to find a certain dinosaur for some reason or whatnot when you're writing something up. So as you can see, we have a definition, we have a sound, you can search words by phonetics or by meaning. So maybe I know it was a dinosaur, but I'm trying to find out what dinosaur I am trying to get a hold of. So as I tap on it, it'll actually announce it. When I swipe, I can hit define, but I can also I thought I could be able to add that over here. Oh, this one is in the sound like. So you can see when you're finding certain words, you can actually really quickly insert it into the document. Now another thing about this is if I turn off my keyboard, I can gain access over to the on-screen keyboard once again. I can turn on the voice recognition so that way I can just type with my voice into my mobile device. Now just be aware that once again, if you are not in a Wi-Fi area, it will not work properly. You will most likely want to make sure that you're in some kind of a Wi-Fi environment so that way you can keep up with the words that are actually showing up on the screen. Otherwise you're going to have to type it out. And then it reads everything out loud. Now when I actually use the on-screen keyboard, now there's supposed to be a little thing that shows up over here where it gives you a bunch of different words that you can actually choose. But that might be because I have it in a different view. So I'm going to turn it portrait. Maybe I turned off my suggestions. No. I have to remember where I put that. Now I can sit here and I can add a header really quickly. So that way if I look at my outline, I can now see the headings and navigate through them really quickly and have it read out loud to me for a really quick review. Now, if I was to save this, it actually saves locally on the device. And I have a quick question where will the voice-to-speech work in airplane mode? No, it will not. You have to be online. It actually uses, I do believe, Apple servers in order to provide the service. So if I was to turn on airplane mode, actually I can't. It would kill the connection. But you see a really dark display over the microphone. When you don't have connection to the internet, that will be grayed out. You won't be able to activate it. So that is now if we want to save it, export file to external location, or let me see. Oops. Yeah, I'll have to save it right over here. So when I go back into my file manager, there it is right over here. It's already saved. I can gain access back over to it and edit it at a later time. And that's just about it for this VoiceWriter app. It's pretty simple to use, really quick and easy. There's not too many issues that I have with it except for the fact that it only does it in text formats. But other than that, do we have any other questions?
So Alice asked, if I were using this app to provide alternate format materials, would I upload the book to the cloud and then the student could pull it down?
Yes. That is what you would do. I know we have Box.com over here on our campus, as well as Google Drive and SkyDrive. So you can choose one of those three services, but just be careful with SkyDrive. I know it's a little bit more limiting on what file formats you can have upload to their service. I would suggest either Box.com or Google Drive in order to send these documents over to the students. And the great thing about that is that means that they have all of their books on one device, and they don't have to carry a big amount of software or textbooks with them. And for those of you interested in Sonocent, Sonocent just upgraded the other day, where it now ties into Dragon Naturally Speaking. And it has a lot of new features in it that are very interesting and were unexpected. One of them is that you can actually import PDFs into the program, and you can have them read out loud. And it will record the audio as it's reading it out loud, and you can actually sit there and highlight the audio from the books as you're listening to it and extract them by highlighted colors. And that's something that we'd be interested in maybe even displaying at a later time, especially since it just came out the other day. Got to figure out some of the other different features that are capable.
So we hope to bring you more webinars like this in the future. Next month, we're hoping to have a webinar similar in nature where we have a member of our field sharing a technology that they enjoy using on their campus. And you may also contact one of our AT-CIG co-chairs, Thad Selmons or Sean Jordison. Also, as I mentioned before, if you're interested in our AT-CIG listserver, please contact Geyer Dietrich. She's the head at the High Tech Center Training Unit. Her phone number is 408-996-6047. or gdietrich@htctu.net. And Josh also posted his email address there. It's jhori@UC Davis, and his phone number is 530-752-3184. So if there are no further questions, we're going to end our webinar now. Thank you so much for attending. We look forward to seeing you in the future.